commission members represented. It's just after 2 o'clock. I'd like to get the meeting started. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States
of
of America,
America,
and to
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, I would like to have the members and designated representatives identify themselves, please, for the record. Suffolk County.
Hi, sorry about that. Andy
That's
Freeling,
okay.
representing the County Executive of Suffolk County.
Thank you. Town of Brookhaven.
Ed Romaine and Emily Pons.
Thank you. Town of Riverhead.
Daniel McCormick on behalf of Riverhead Town Supervisor Yvette Aguiar. Unfortunately, the supervisor cannot attend today's meeting. She's been called away on town matters. Thank you.
Thank you. Town of Southampton.
Janice Shira and Marty Shea.
Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Judy Jacobson. I am the Executive Director for the Central Pine Barrens Commission, and this is the November 17th, 2021 regularly scheduled commission meeting. For the record, there is a quorum present, and the meeting is being recorded, and the Zoom video will be placed on the Commission's website at pb.state.my.us. I just wanted to start off by announcing that in case there are people present for the hearing on Sunrise Wind, that hearing will be adjourned and will be rescheduled to January, along with the decision deadline extended into February, and that will be more formally addressed later on in the agenda. So item 1 under administrative and public comment and public comments for those individuals wishing to speak at this point, I ask that you please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And I will start off with, there were no comments that I received through email. Is there anyone present at this time that would like to provide public comment? Please use the raise your hand feature in the Zoom.
No hands are raised and there are no phone calls.
Thank you, Angie. So item 1B, the minutes for the October 20th commission meeting. Are there any changes or corrections? Hearing none, could I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes from October.
Is there a second?
Second, Riverhead.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Under item,
I'm sorry, can we just get a vote? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I know, in the past we have been doing it that way. Oh,
We're
I
on
see.
consent.
I apologize, folks. All in favor? Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. Sorry about that. Okay. Item 2A, NIWEMA update for the Spring Academy. Kathy?
Hi all. The October Academy was scheduled to be held October 14th to October 25th, but due to low student enrollment, it was decided to postpone it until the spring Academy. So what I did was I took the entire schedule that we had planned for October and just moved all the classes we had planned to now hold in the spring. It will be a total of 18 classes. We removed only 2 classes that were set for October only because of certain instructors weren't available. But we will be holding a total of 18 classes, the same schedule that we offered in October. Registration was just opened this week. So that announcement has gone out. And those dates will be March 22nd to April 1st. We'll be holding classes. The location has not been selected at this time, but hopefully by the time we get to March, BNL will be able to allow us in and be able to use the classrooms there. Other options are hotels, as we had used last spring. And there's one other location that I'm looking into, but hopefully I'm crossing my fingers for BNL. But other than that, we're moving ahead. Registration is open, and I'm hopeful. It looks like attendance might be, we might have better odds in the spring from this. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Okay, Education and Outreach Division, Ms. Perot.
Hi, thank you. Good afternoon. So from the last couple months, from September 24th through just recently, November 5th, we've been working on our Day in the Life of the River programs. Every Friday for those months, we've been out on site, and during the week, we participate in the teacher trainings, the equipment, dispersal, etc. It was a very successful season for us. Despite COVID, we did not have 100% participation from the schools. Unfortunately, they still had some COVID issues and were not able to do field trips. But surprisingly, we were able to do 9 out of the 11 ecosystems, and almost 2,000 students did get out there on those river systems. So it was amazing to see. And just want to give a shout out to our biggest supporter, Supervisor Romaine, as he attended every event that was in Brookhaven Town, including the Pecanic Estuary, as we did have one site in the town of Brookhaven. So thank you as always, Supervisor. What sets this program apart as than just a field trip is that data collection. So that's what we're really emphasizing now, so we could do some long-term research programs and projects. In fact, BNL identified a staff person to work with us directly, because we're really going to take on that data collection aspect and make sure that not only the quality control, but that it's out there and usable data. And highlighting our partners for this event, which is always impressive. We have 40 partners that help this program become successful. It's not just the Pine Barrens Commission, BNL, and DEC, the main organizers, but we couldn't do it without these partners that act as experts on site or help in some aspects of the coordination. Again, we typically have 44 school districts that participate each year. This year we had 36. So not bad considering the crisis that we're all continuing to deal with. But in the information that I provided previously, you could see there's a map of all the locations in which we took data at, which was impressive. It's very island wide. And that is because we have partners, as you know, Great South Bay, Save the Great South Bay, and Seatuck Environmental Association manage a variety. They manage Mill River, Carls River, and some of the creeks along the South Shore. We did get some really good press this year. Thank you to Tim Moats from the Pine Barrens Commission, and BNL had a hand on that this year. We also participated or presented to the Long Island Library Resource Council, and libraries will be joining us next year and getting their communities involved in the citizen science component and how to improve their communities. So that'll be really exciting, including new partnerships. Ward Melville organization is interested in using Day in the Life within their mission. So we're just really, a really great program and matches so many missions that it is, and it's just an easy to join us. So we're getting a lot of new partners. And we are applying for an EPA grant, $50,000 to $100,000. And most likely we'll be requesting higher end equipment. We need some website development and maintenance, and some curriculum development. So we'll see how that goes, fingers crossed. So thank you.
Item 2C under Science and Stewardship Division, the update. You received the Science and Stewardship update in your e-packet. Polly is not available today to provide that update in person. However, she did give me some highlights to mention. Notably that we had 2 seasonals working from September to the beginning of November, Cole and Daniel, who helped work on the prescribed fire program this fall. In addition, the commission led its first woodland burn in the south of Kearns Road area. We will be looking to hire a new fire management specialist in the spring, hopefully, and also some additional field staff necessary to help carry out the prescribed fire program in spring. The fire truck has been ordered. It's going to be quite a few months due to the backlog with COVID and all before we actually see it. And most of the equipment related to the prescribed fire program has been purchased. The southern pine beetle has been increasing in activity, and there's concern for it spreading into Rocky Point Pine Barrens State Forest. It has devastated Warbler Woods pines on the eastern side and is traveling north in that corridor. The county and state are conducting suppression with an emergency contract Sawyer crew. Spotted lanternfly, active infestation, egg laying has been documented at MacArthur Airport, getting very close to the Central Pine Barrens area. Staff has been involved with surveying at South Haven Park and also the transfer stations in Southampton, and so far, fortunately, no spotted lanternfly has been spotted. They continue to perform miscanthus management in grasslands to eradicate it as encroachment continues in that area as well. So that's all, and the rest of it will be contained in the report that was provided to you in the e-packet. Item 3 under Planning, Land Use, and Pine Barrens Credit Program, Compliance and Enforcement Division update. Jim?
Jim had to step out for a minute.
Oh, okay. Since Jim is not available at this point, you did receive the enforcement report in your e-packet for your review. And if you have any questions when he comes back, we can address them at that time. On to item 3B, Land Use Division update. Ms. Harvey.
Thank you. Good afternoon. You have my brief report. There are 2 current applications before the commission. The Sunrise Wind, which again, as Judy said, was on for a hearing today, but it's requested to be adjourned by the applicant, and the deadline extended. So, and the other one is the recent development of regional significance for the RD industrial development in Yapping, and that's also on the agenda today. So, Commission received secret coordinations for that project as well, and another site plan in the town of Brookhaven. And we've been informed by the Quag that we will likely see a hardship application next month for their proposal to expand their nature center. Otherwise, we just continue to work on land use projects that come to the commission and inquiries that we receive and the plan amendments that we'll be discussing later in the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Under item 3C, the credit program update by Mr. Taverdi.
Thank you, Judy. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to give you a brief update on the credit program activities. So far this year, we have issued 31 letters of interpretation, 10 in the town of Brookhaven, 2 in Riverhead, and 19 in the town of Southampton. 3 conservation easements are currently in the process. 9 parcels were added to the program this year. We generated 7.2 credits. 57 credits were redeemed, and most of them are in the town of Brookhaven for a residential project. 41 credits have been conveyed with a different average price in each town. In Brookhaven, it is 91,000. In Riverhead, it's 50,000, and in town of Southampton, 75,000 per credit. And the average for all 3 towns, I believe it's a little bit over 80,000 per credit. The total number of 99 parcels were inspected, and 58 signs were installed so far this year. As of financial report, there's still $2.5 million in the clearinghouse bank, and the interest build up is $2,100. So in terms of the status of consent order for Pecanic River Sportsman Club, the revegetation restoration is practically completed. A combination of about 7,000 different grasses, shrubs, and trees have been planted there, and that those designated areas are planning to be monitored during the next few years. At the last commission meeting, the board members decided to go on with the sale of 9.65 credits to the developer with shovel-ready project in the town of Brookhaven. A sale contract was forwarded to the bidder, and it must be executed by the end of December 10 this year. The credit should be redeemed within 6 months of the closing. And the next clearinghouse board members meeting is scheduled for December 8 at 2 p.m. It will be online through Zoom. Thank you. That's all I have. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Jerry. Item under the credit program, item 3BB. Yesterday, I sent out a revised resolution entitled the draft resolution to transfer the credit clearinghouse funds from the Suffolk County Treasurer to the Central Pine Barrens Commission, which hopefully all of you have received.
Motion to approve that, and I would ask you to consider striking the word treasurer. Suffolk County did away with its treasurer, so it is now the comptroller.
Okay, thank you. I will make that change.
Judy, one other concern, in the whereas clause, whereas number 4, can we explicitly state that upon transfer, those funds being sent to the water authority will be maintained in a separate and segregated and/or designated account, such that they're not commingled with water authority account monies?
Absolutely, and that was very much the intent.
Right.
And the other commission money as well for our regular funds are maintained in a separate account, but I will add that to the resolution.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second,
Yeah,
Thank you. All in favor?
aye.
Um, any opposed? Andy, are you opposed?
No, we're just gonna abstain. The carries it though, right?
Yes, it carries. The vote would be 301 with one abstention for Suffolk County. I guess, well, I should have stated, was there any further discussion prior to that vote? Hearing none, we'll move on then. So the motion carries. Item 3D, the EPCAL discussion will be moved for discussion purposes at the next commission meeting on December 15th.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you, Dan.
I would also recommend that we consider having some of that discussion in executive session, since it may involve litigation.
So noted. Item 3E is the comprehensive land use plan amendments and DGEIS presentation that will be provided by Julie Hargrave.
Thank you, Judy. Good afternoon. So I'm just going to briefly go over this presentation. There was a PowerPoint in your package, and let me just share the screen here. Okay, so I hope all of the members and reps have received a binder of the draft supplemental generic environmental impact statement and the 3-chapter amendments in chapters 4, 5, and 6. If you haven't, please let me know. And after you've had a chance to read this material, we would appreciate your comments, of course. Any comments you have, please send them to us, and we plan to keep this process moving forward by having this item back on the agenda in January. We're trying to advance the secret process and finally have the amendments adopted next year. So once you're comfortable with this information, it can be deemed complete and released to the public, and public hearing can be scheduled the winter or spring of 2022. This process has been more than 10 years in the making, so we want to move it along. This presentation is provided to review the draft supplemental generic EIS and to familiarize you with the amendments that achieved consensus to move forward in 2016. And we know that some of you were not involved in this process, so this will be new to you, and we can provide any information and more information when you need it. A summary table is provided in the land use chapter and in a couple of the chapters in the EIS that lists each amendment and its potential impact. So those summary tables are helpful, particularly in the land use chapter. So just to step back a moment and refresh your memory that in 1994, there was a generic environmental impact statement written for the plan, and a supplemental GEIS was prepared in 1995 to address potential impacts on the plan that were changed or added around that time. So again, to remind you that the Barrens Act says that the commission shall review and, if appropriate, make amendments to the land use plan and update the generic impact statement. And that can occur at least every 5 years. Again, the amendments are in chapters 4, 5, and 6. And just to go back and explain how we got here, in 2010, the commission commenced a review of the plan, suggesting updates and amendments to address items that needed clarity in the plan's implementation. And in 2012, the commission adopted 2 sets of minor amendments that were adopted into the plan and exist in the plan today. Those were very minor, again, minor amendments that didn't require a detailed seeker analysis. And in over about 5 years, from 2010 to 2015, the commission held a number of special meetings and work sessions to discuss in detail each amendment and achieved consensus or not on each one. So in 2015, the commission achieved consensus on the current set of plan amendments, the larger set in chapters 4, 5, and 6. And they, in April 2015, adopted a seeker determination, a positive declaration, and adopted in February 2016 a final scoping document for the preparation of a draft supplemental generic environmental impact statement. So the scope outlines the contents of this document, and the staff has prepared it ourselves. We've prepared it, and I, of course, I want to thank Judy and John Malazzo and John Pavsek, who's not here anymore, but for their work on this, as well as Jerry, since he provided a lot of the updated land use data from his report that contributed to this effort. So overall, the amendments are ministerial in nature. Just some of the highlights: they define terms and refer to the statute where necessary. We tried to add references to be helpful where people could refer back to the statute. And they apply to limited types of projects, such as developments of regional significance or assertions of jurisdiction. Some of the guidelines became standards where they were sort of similar and alike in terms of subject matter. And there are items that apply to development projects that are not subject to other regulatory review, such as utilities and libraries or schools, where those aren't subject to local review. The commission fills in that gap. That would occur on maybe dark skies initiatives and that kind of subject. So again, the timeline is about 6 months, so we hope to get this completed with a public hearing and then follow the process to adopt these amendments through mid to late next year. So just to go over some of the highlights in each of the 3 chapters. In chapter 4, the review procedures and jurisdiction, there are items that provide clarity in defining terms that have been used for the last 25 years in practice and policy and decisions by the commission. So these terms reflect all the decisions that have been made since then. And new terms are provided where it made sense to provide some sort of updated practices, such as self-heal restoration, and also to identify tall structures, again, where there are gaps in other regulatory reviews, and provide some consolidation of the developments of regional significant definitions. And one new one on concerning the exposing a water table for a water feature over 3 acres, and that doesn't apply to lined ponds. So some of the chapter 5 highlights include, again, mostly they're ministerial. You'll see that when you review the chapters. But they consolidate similar subject matters such as water resources and stormwater, wetlands, items like that that are similar, and it looked like they could be consolidated for simplicity. We have provided some, again, to fill those gaps where there are limited projects that aren't subject to other regulatory review. We tried to clarify the open space protection and where the clearing standard exists. The area that's left is open space, in case that wasn't clear in the plan. Provide a land use based clearing standard for state or public corporations such as schools, rather than them being subject to the restrictive zoning standard. Allow them to be have a little more flexibility in their clearing when they need it, and protects avian wildlife to some extent where it's possible, and addresses invasive species mitigation, improves the list of native plants up to the current set of thinking, and references the list of scenic roads. And we're not adding any scenic roads, we're just incorporating them into Volume 1, into Chapter 5. These are the scenic roads that were already identified in Volume 2 in 1995. So again, just to, it elaborates a little more on the open space standard, again, to reflect some of the history and practice. So where they're non-contiguous parcels in a large project site, and open space is protected, this reflects those instances, those conditions. Where there's split zone parcels, when clearing is modified based on the redemption of Pine Barrens credits, when restoration occurs, there is some self-heal restoration that will be allowed. Obviously, the hardship requirements, which have not changed, these are just reflecting the act and when that's required, when there's overclearing. And prioritizing resources. So this is like reflective of the conservation design idea of clustering development and clustering the open space. So it continues to encourage development of the compatible growth area that's compact, efficient, and orderly, and addresses invasive species where it's necessary. And in Chapter 6, the Pine Barrens Credit Program, there are minor amendments that clarify the existing policies, including, resolving violations before credits are issued, or prohibiting Pine Barrens credits to be landed in the Corps. That is contrary to the plan. Establishes timeframes to review the letters of interpretation and hearings and on appeals, and reflecting the town of Brookhaven's expansion of the core preservation area around the Carmens River, and those parcels that came into the credit program as a result, or are now in the core, and they can come into the credit program if they desire, and establishing that date of when that's effective, and clarifying the parcels that are not eligible to receive credits. Again, this goes through some of those same highlights that I just discussed. So again, in summary, the plan amendments are generally ministerial. They reflect the act and the plan, and they can be traced to the goals and objectives of the act. They support compact, efficient, and orderly development in the compatible growth area, and seek to maintain the essential character of the compatible growth area while protecting the Pine Barrens. And we went through this exhaustive supplemental generic environmental impact statement over the last few years to make sure that we covered all of the potential impacts, and providing a little bit of a background, of course, with the original EIS that was prepared and the findings and what those results were, and again, providing some clarity with the standards and guidelines and how they're implemented, and addressing potential impacts and supporting compact, efficient, orderly development. And really, the impacts, if there are any, they protect the Pine Barrens resources. Again, they're mostly ministerial, and there's alternatives also. There's an alternative for very minor amendments that are proposed. So I think I've said all that. And again, this is the timeline where we have provided the commission with the very preliminary draft, and we want to get your feedback before it's released to the public, and it starts to go through the public hearing process. And we hope to have this complete by the middle of next year if possible. So that's my presentation.
Thank you very much, Julie. Julie has done a tremendous, she did the lion's share of the work on the draft generic supplemental environmental impact statement. It's, as we have mentioned, that this has been a very long process. We want to make sure the commission members are comfortable. I know there are a few of you, the members and reps, that were not involved in the original process, but We feel the document is fairly straightforward. There are tables, as Julie mentioned in particular in the document, that I also wanted to mention in Chapter 2, pages 6 through 14. As well, there are summary tables that identify the section of the amendment and provide a very brief summary of what the purpose of that amendment, what it was trying to do. Whether it was just adding a word or incorporating something. But that will help in particular as you go through and look at to get an understanding of the amendments and the draft generic environmental impact statement. So you can use the plan amendments are in the back of the document, and you can, using those tables will help you understand better the purpose and intent of those changes, which, as Julie mentioned, largely are ministerial. However, we wanted to be thorough and comprehensive, and that is why we went the route of preparing a draft generic supplemental impact statement. So hopefully you will have time to review the document, and if you have any questions or comments, please send them to us or call us to discuss. If you feel that there is more of a direct interaction needed, just let us know. And as Julie mentioned, that we will be putting this on the agenda in January for further discussion. Is there anything else, any comments that anyone has at this point?
Thank you, Julie. That was very well presented.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So moving right along to item 3F under compatible growth area is the secret lead agency coordination and development of regional significance application for RD industrial subdivision site plan and Ramsey Road Precision Drive in Yaphank. Ms. Hargrave will provide that information.
Thank you. This is has two parts. One is a secret lead agency coordination from the town of Brookhaven Planning Board, and the other is a development of regional significance application. So there's a brief 2-page letter in the package to address the secret coordination and deferring lead agency to the town of Brookhaven, and also to process the DRS application. We have a resolution to schedule a public hearing for December 15th.
I just had a procedural question on this. I have no concern about deferring lead agency status to the town of Brookhaven, but how can we proceed with scheduling a hearing on the DRS application if seeker is not yet complete? Because essentially the commission has an incomplete application until the town has finished that seeker process.
Valid point.
That's true.
John, can you address that, please?
Sure. That's a good question, Marty. But the commission has had this issue in the past, and what they can provide is a sense resolution, which would allow the applicant some sense of the commission's perception and understanding of the project and whether it complies or not. In this case, it needs a hardship, so it obviously doesn't, and whether that hardship would be granted. And it's not a conditional decision. It's just a sense of the commission is that on the merits of the application, the hardship has been demonstrated or not. And then it allows the applicant to complete their process at the town. And if it's favorable to town, they can come back to the commission and get that sense resolution converted into a final approval.
I don't know if this needs a hardship. It's just a DRS right now. I don't
Okay,
think,
so then the
I think
question
you're saying
was,
it doesn't need a hardship, yeah.
okay, so then it would be whether it fully conforms with the standards and guidelines.
Mhm.
But we've worked through this only because you get caught in that chicken and an egg.
Yeah.
So would we do
And
that?
I'm sorry, we've done a sense resolution on another DRS in the town of Brookhaven, which was the Brookhaven
Okay.
Walk.
So we shouldn't schedule the hearing now, and we should go ahead with just doing a sense resolution at the next meeting, maybe? Is that what you were saying?
No, I would schedule the hearing and move
Okay.
forward, and then they would have their hearing on the application on whether it conforms. And then if the town issues a POSDEC or denies it, then they would withdraw, obviously, or not on a POSDEC, they would have to withdraw, but they could proceed simultaneously, is my point.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
So we need two things. We need the letter authorized and a motion on the scheduling the hearing for next month.
I have a motion to send the response letter.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Andy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes unanimously. Item 3G, the secret, excuse me, and then the motion to schedule the public hearing on the DRS application.
I'll make that motion as well.
Is there a second?
Second.
Andy. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Item 3G is the seeker lead agency coordination, North Street Energy Storage on Weeks Avenue, North Street in Manorville. Julie?
There's a brief letter in the package to respond to the seeker lead agency coordination, defer lead agency to the town. This is a 12-acre site in the compatible growth area. It is currently mostly cleared and developed, so this is a redevelopment with a battery energy storage facility. And it's development, and well, the letter says it's development and that it has to conform. So if they demonstrate conformance, there's no issue there.
Can I have a motion to send the draft response letter?
So moved.
Second,
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Okay, we move on to item 4, the public hearing that was supposed to be scheduled at 3 o'clock for the Sunrise Wind LLC Core Preservation Area Compelling Public Need Hardship Waiver. Julie, did you want to provide any information?
Just that the package included some information, but on Monday, the commission received a letter requesting an adjournment to December, but we have another hearing next month. So as Judy, as you mentioned in the beginning, that's likely to be scheduled for January then, January 17th, I think is the meeting date.
19th.
Or 19th, I'm sorry. And then the deadline for the decision they've provided through the end of February next year. The commission might need more time. So for now, that's what it is.
Okay. So I need a motion to adjourn the hearing per the applicant's request, with the hearing to be rescheduled to January 19th, 2022 at 3 p.m. and to accept the extension of decision deadline to February 16th, 2022.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second, Riverhead.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. So that brings us to the second public comment period on the agenda. If there's anyone that wishes to provide public comment at this time, please use the raise your hand feature.
No hands are raised
Thank you, Angie.
and no one phoned in.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so is there a need to go into advisory session?
I have a couple items to discuss in closed advisory session for purposes of providing counsel to the commission with no action needed.
Okay,
Make a motion, we go into executive advisory session, at the end of which we come out and we adjourn and conduct no further business.
Second that.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, Angie, will you send a link